my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. Well, payday is here for a lot of people, not for us. And of course, Graham, we know that you can never be too safe when using the ATM.
Yeah, so we've got some tips on how you can keep yourself safe, not just using the ATM, but generally on this very important payday.
Exactly.
Now, many of us use ATMs instead of going to the bank branches because of convenience, and of course, criminals know this. Now, this is one of the common opportunities that Scellum uses to compromise you and, of course, steal your money. And this morning, we welcome back Kiliani Pillay, the CEO of SABRIC, the South African Banking Risk Information Center, to tell us more about ATM safety. I think it's one of those things that we were taught from a young age. I remember my grandmother always kind of being nervous around ATMs, and I'm assuming it's still the case because criminals have found even more innovative ways to steal our money.
Well, people have become more comfortable with using ATMs because, of course, there are more ATMs out there, and it's part of our everyday life. You know, we need cash, we need to do a transaction, we go to an ATM. But of course, again, perpetrators will always look for opportunities, and the ATM provides them with a great opportunity because people go into an ATM, you're in a hurry, you want to get your cash, and when you don't get your cash, you, of course, become quite flustered and emotional, and they play on that. So what we're finding is that when you go to an ATM, and if you insert your card into the card reader, because that's what you do, you go there, you put your card in, you want to get your transaction done, and then suddenly your transactions are not happening the way it ought to be done. And it's because the perpetrator, in most instances, has already tampered with that ATM. And often they place a little reader on the mouth of the ATM, a tiny little device, so that when your card goes through the slot, the mag strip goes across that little device and it copies the data on the mag strip. Then somewhere on the ATM, there'll be a little pinhole, a tiny little hole, which has a hidden camera behind it. It's a flat little device that the perpetrator then uses to copy the PIN number as you put it in. So they have your card data, and then they get your PIN number, and then of course they're able to create what we call a counterfeit card. So that's one of the things that happens. What happens also is that where the perpetrator is physically there, what they would do is that they would jam that reader so that your card now, so there's no device there, but they just jam it so that your card doesn't go all the way through in the slot. And then, of course, you're not getting a kind of the screen that you require. So then they come and they offer you assistance. That's what they actually want. They come over, they're this kind person who's offering you assistance, and then they say to you they've had the same problem, and then they tell you what to do. And in that process, they so quickly, they press the cancel button, the card comes out, they swap the card, they put another card in, and they now have your card.
I just got chills.
They would either quickly skim it, right? And then they have a little device, they quickly skim it, or they have one of their accomplices that are close by, they skim the card, give them back the card, and then what they do is they do what we call shoulder surfing.
Shoulder surfing.
So they stand close to you and they say to you, well, go ahead now, the card's in, you can now do your transaction, put your PIN number in, and of course, while you're putting your PIN number, they purport to be a little bit away, they're actually looking over your shoulder. So, you know, we're saying, don't allow anybody to help you at an ATM, irrespective of what.
Even if they're dressed in uniform.
Absolutely, whether they're wearing a security, they appear to be the security guard, whether they are the security guard, whether they have appear to be from the bank, a bank staff member, or even an ordinary plainclothes person, even if they're well dressed in a suit and look very smart, don't take help from anybody.
Just before we go, when something like that happens and your card gets copied through that small device you were describing and the camera and everything like that, does the bank take responsibility for the fact that they've compromised the security of that ATM? I mean, where does the responsibility lie?
The bank would actually investigate every single matter and look at the circumstances around it. Because one of the things we've been saying to bank customers is your PIN is required in order to complete the transaction. So even if they have the data which allows them to create a new card, they can't do a transaction by drawing out money without.
Hide the keypad.
So you've got to, irrespective, and I think it's really important for us to make this part of our normal banking habit, you know, whether we're in South Africa or whether we're outside of South Africa, to always make sure that we cover the keypad of an ATM, cover the keypad of a point-of-sale device. Don't feel shy. that somebody's standing close to you and thinks they don't trust you. Don't
Yes.
trust anybody.
Yeah, because a lot of people could think, oh, I'm old school. They think I'm an old woman or an old man by doing this. It's rather better to be cautious.
Yes,
So thank you
yes.
very much, Kilani. Always appreciate your time with us here. And yes, indeed, be cautious of those strangers offering to help you at an ATM. They could be trying to distract you in order to get your card or your PIN, and at the end of the day, of course, your money. Now, if you're looking for more tips on banking safely, visit the SABRIC website, and you can also find them on Facebook and on Twitter so that you can hashtag WiseUp and watch out.
Wise up, watch out.